in this video, we are going to write the equation of a graph. And in this video, we're going to be talking about writing the equation in vertex form or standard form, depending on what you call it. So in the last video, we talked about going from equation to graph. But now in this video, we're going to go from graph to equation, and we're going to see how that plays out. So the first step to doing this is to write the vertex of the graph. Like, pick out the vertex on the graph. Like, what's the vertex? And if you go back to the video where we identified the characteristics of a parabola, you know that the vertex is like the peak point of your graph. It's where like your graph is at the highest or the lowest point of your graph. So that's what the vertex is. Let's go straight into an example. Okay, hand-drawn parabola here, but bear with me. So let's say you're given a graph that looks something like this, and you're asked to, again, find the equation in vertex form. And the form that you're asked to do it in really does matter, so take note of that. The first step, just a reminder, we need to remind ourselves of what vertex form looks like. It's in the form y equals a x minus h squared plus k. So now we have that. So we are asked, okay, take this graph and give me an equation. At first, it looks intimidating, but it's really simple once you just follow simple steps. So the first step is to find the vertex. Again, the vertex is the pick point. Let's find the vertex, right? So I'm just going to find vertex. I'm going to have instructions in the description box so you can follow along if, you're stuck. So to find the vertex, again, the pick point. But there's one thing that you must remember. You take the opposite of your x side, which is also like your h or your k. And I'm going to explain that. So for this graph, our vertex is -2 and 4 right here. Okay, so we are going to say our vertex. Now, our vertex is -2 and 4. But we can't put -2 and 4 in the equation. We are going to take the opposite. This is in the form xy or hk. And this is probably the form that you're going to want to know, because that's what the equation looks like. Xy is kind of confusing to look at this as xy, because our equation also has xy in it, but that's not what the vertex is. So in this case, this is what you want to know that equation as, hk. So that point as hk. So you're going to take your h, but you're going to take the opposite. So we have a -2 here. If we take the opposite of a -2 or the opposite sign of a negative, we're going to get a +2. So when we go back to rewrite our equation, we're going to have y equals a x plus 2 squared plus 4. You leave the 4, whatever sign is on your k, you don't touch that. But for your h, you take the opposite. If you go back to the previous video where we were writing from an equation to a graph, you know that we also took the opposite. And it's really important that we remember to take the opposite. It's going to change your answer drastically if you don't. So then the next step is to choose a nice point on the parabola and put that in place for x and y on your equation. So a nice point. We have this point right here. Super nice. That's a 0, 0. I'm just going to use that point. So we're going to take 0, 0. We're going to put it in place for x and y in your equation. So here we're going to have 0 equals a 0 plus 2 squared plus 4. We're going to just take this equation and just modify it as we go. Right? So we started from this. Now we're here, and now we're here. So you modify it as you go, adding stuff to it. So now that we've done that, we're going to solve for a, because a is the only thing that is unknown at this point. So solving for a, we have 0 will be equal to a. The bracket would be a 4 plus 4. Again, we take away 4 from both sides. We have -4 equals a 4. This is multiplying. We're going to divide 4 from both sides. And our final answer is -1 equals to a. So our a is equal to -1. So now we're going to take our a. We're going to put it back into the equation. But we're going to get rid of the x and y. So we're going to put it back into the equation, put back x and y. You know what? I'm just going to do it so you guys can see what I mean by that. So we're going to take this equation right here, and we're going to put a for it. So y is going to stay the same. We're not going to have a 0 anymore. We're just going to have a y. We're going to have our -1 in place of a. Our x is going to stay the same. We're not going to have a 0 anymore, but we're going to keep our +2 +4. And now we're done. This is now in that form. And that's our final answer. Pretty simple. One thing that I find that I make mistakes for, or like I just find myself that I make mistakes when I do this, is when it comes to plugging in my x and y at this step over here. So let's say I didn't have 0, 0, and I chose this other point right here. Let's use a different color. I chose this point right here. This point is -4 and 0. Now, this is in the form xy. And I find that I make this mistake all the time, or usually I put the x for the y and the y for the x. So instead of having a 0 for y, right here, a 0 for y and a -4 for x, I put a -4 for y and a 0 for x, because I'm used to writing my x first, so it's kind of like routine to forget that this is actually y and not x. So make sure that you're putting your x for x in your equation and your y for your y, so you don't get different answers. Now, if I use -4 and 0 instead of 0 and 0, would I get the same answer? Let's try that. So I'm just going to move this. Well, that's going to change everything. Okay, we're just going to move this and assume that our graph looks the same. So we're going to have 0 equals a, -4 plus 2 squared plus 4. 0 equals a, -2 squared plus 4. We're going to have 0 equals a, 4 plus 4. Again, you can already tell that we're getting the same answer. Or it seems like 49. It's 4a divided by 4. A is equal to -1. We have the exact same answer. So it doesn't matter which point you choose, to plug into your for your x and y. It really doesn't matter. Just pick a point, plug it in, and you're done. So that is it for today's video. I'm gonna have step-by-step in the description box for you guys to follow along, so you can kind of have a more of, in case you want to take notes and things like that, in the description box for you guys. So again, just to recap what we did, the first step is to find your vertex. Remember to take the opposite sign on your h, plug that into your equation for h and x. Then you're going to pick any point, any nice point on your graph, and plug it in for x and y. Remember, the order should be correct. You want to put your y for your y and your x for your x. And then you want to solve for a. And then once you're done solving for a, you're going to put that a back into your equation, but get rid of the x and y. So take away whatever values you're having for x and y, and that is your final answer. That is pretty much it in a nutshell. Thank you guys for watching this video. I will see you guys in the next one.